Welcome to The Explainer. So, you're a Canadian business, and you want to go global? Awesome. But before you can do that, you've got to master the rulebook. Today, we're going to crack the code on export compliance. We're talking everything from national security right down to the nitty-gritty paperwork that gets your stuff from here to there.
And this quote, it just nails it. Exporting is so much more than just sticking something in a box and slapping a label on it. It's this whole regulated universe with a ton of moving parts, a world where every single detail matters. And trust me, getting it right is everything.
All right, let's make this real. Imagine a biotech firm out in Vancouver. They've got this amazing breakthrough enzyme. A lab in Germany is ready to buy it. I mean, that's a huge win, right? Well, it is. But before they can pop the champagne, they've got to get through this compliance maze.
So before that amazing enzyme can even dream of getting on a plane, the company hits three big hurdles right out of the gate. First up, the permit. See, this enzyme is what they call a dual-use item. Super useful in a lab, for sure, but it could also have military applications. So you guessed it, the government needs to sign off. Second, safety. This stuff is hazardous, so it needs special packaging, special handling, and all the right paperwork to prove it's safe to ship. And third, the declaration. Because the shipment is worth more than $2,000, they have to file a formal electronic declaration with the government. No ifs, ands, or buts.
So you might be thinking, why all the hoops? Why is this so complicated? And that's a great question. To really get it, we need to rewind the clock a bit, to a moment that totally changed the game for how Canada, and really the whole world, looks at exports. You can see the whole philosophy just flip. Before 2001, reporting was basically about one thing: data. That old B13A paper form, it was really just for Statistics Canada to count things. But after 9/11, everything changed. I mean, literally overnight. Export declarations went from being about stats to being a vital tool for national security. This shift led to the creation of the CBSA, the Canada Border Services Agency, and, fast forward to today, the all-digital, mandatory CERS platform we use.
So yeah, this is not just red tape for the sake of red tape. These rules have some really important jobs. First, there's the big one: security and safety. We're talking about keeping those dual-use items from ending up where they shouldn't. Then there's the legal side. Canada has to stick to international agreements, like treaties on weapons. And finally, it's about our own economy. Having solid data on, say, how much wheat we're exporting helps the government make smarter policies for our farmers.
Okay, so we get the why now. Let's talk about the how. We're going to walk through the essential digital tools you absolutely need. Think of this as your export starter pack for getting out there in the modern world.
First things first, you need a business number, a BN. It's that unique 9-digit ID the government gives your business. But here's the key thing. Just having a BN isn't enough for exporting. You have to add an RM program identifier to it. It's that little RM add-on that officially registers you to trade internationally. Seriously, without it, your shipment's going nowhere.
Next up, CERS. That's the Canadian Export Reporting System. This is the official, mandatory web portal for all your export declarations. And honestly, it's pretty slick. It's built to help you out, not trip you up. It has these validation tools that catch mistakes before you even hit submit. Plus, if you ship the same stuff over and over, you can save templates. That's a huge time saver.
And you can really see the difference here. The jump from the old way to the new way is just massive. We went from a system where paper got processed after the goods were already gone to one that's proactive. CERS is all digital. It checks your work in real time before you ship, and it serves that dual purpose we talked about: security and statistics. I mean, that built-in error checking, that alone is a total game changer.
Last but not least in our toolkit is the Certificate of Origin. The best way to think about this: it's literally a passport for your products. It's a signed document that proves your goods were actually made right here in Canada. And why is that so important? Well, if we have a free trade deal with the country you're shipping to, this little piece of paper can save your buyer a ton of money on tariffs, sometimes even making them zero. And that, of course, makes your product way more attractive.
All right, let's move on, because now we get to what is, you could argue, the single most important piece of the entire puzzle: the product code. This little number is the foundation for everything else. Get this wrong, and your whole shipment could just crumble.
So just think about this for a second. You've got customs officers in Canada, Germany, Japan,
all looking at the exact same product. How do they communicate? How do they all describe that product in a way that means the same thing to everybody? What's the global language of trade?
Well, the answer is the Harmonized System. You'll hear it called the HS code. It's basically a universal barcode for every product that crosses a border anywhere in the world. It's a standardized number that tells every customs authority exactly what a product is, what taxes or duties to apply, and helps them collect good, clean data.
And this code is actually built in a really logical way. It's a hierarchy. The first 6 numbers are the international standard. They're the same everywhere. They go from a really broad category, the chapter, down to a super specific subheading. Then, here in Canada, we add 4 more digits on the end. Those last 4 are for our own specific needs, like setting the exact tariff, and for our own stat track.
So, how do you actually find the right code? It is definitely not a guessing game. There's a whole methodical process that pros like customs brokers use. They follow a set of official rules to find the most specific description for a product. They'll dig into all the technical specs and documents. They'll even look at past decisions from customs to see how similar items were classified. And of course, they're always checking if a free trade agreement could mean a better rate for their client.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. Getting this stuff right, especially that HS code, is absolutely non-negotiable. Why? Because the consequences of getting it wrong are, well, they're severe. We're not just talking about your bottom line. We're talking about something much more serious.
Let's start with simple paperwork mistakes. You know, an incorrect declaration, a wrong code. That kind of error can trigger what's called an administrative monetary penalty, and that can be up to $25,000 just for a paperwork mistake.
But if we're talking about something more serious, like you deliberately export controlled goods without the right permit, now you're in a whole different league. You're talking about criminal law. And the fines? They can go through the roof, all the way up to a jaw-dropping $10 million.
And it's not just about the money. In the most serious cases, for the worst violations, you could be facing prison time, up to 10 years.
So how do you cover yourself? What do you do to prepare in case customs comes knocking for an audit? The rule is simple, and it is crystal clear. You have to keep all your records for every single export shipment for 6 years. And I mean everything. The CERS declaration, the invoice, the shipping bills, the permits. Your entire file for that shipment has to be complete and accessible for 6 full years.
Look, at the end of the day, these rules and codes, they aren't there to stop you. They're the shared language of global trade. They're the grammar of commerce. And mastering them, that's what separates a local shop from a global powerhouse. It really is your passport to success around the world. Which leaves us with just one last question for you to think about.